Hi, this is Gayle with BERNINA of Naperville, and welcome to Serger Club, where this month we are doing fancy rolled hems. Well, they're double fun because they're double rolled hems, and they have lots of applications, practical and decorative. So sometimes when you're doing a rolled hem, you may just want more robustness to it, like on my dress here that you see, right? So this big flowy dress, it was just too much fabric to hem with a regular hemming stitch foot. So I busted out my serger and I did a twice rolled hem. I'm putting on too much of a leg show there, but anyway. So that's kind of my inspiration. But then I thought about double rolled hems and some of their other applications. First of all, it's cute for micro piping, so I'm going to show you how to do that. And then a quick little refresher on how to do a napkin and differential feed. So let's go over to the presentation deck and see what we're in for this month.
Well, here we are. It's May and it's our Serger Club. And this is a fun one. It's a double rolled hem. It's very versatile. And I hope you enjoy figuring out what you might use this technique on. So what I'm working from here is our presentation deck. It's got a link to the video that you're watching now, just in case, you can't find it again on our YouTube channel. There's a lot of videos on it. And it also gives you information for further instruction on rolled hems. Each one of these is a hyperlink that'll take you to a different video. And it also gives you the supplies and links to the feet and things like that. I also include, for instance, like this month, I made a dress and I wanted to show you how I'm going to hem it. Well, this is the pattern in case you're curious that I used, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I also include a 25% off discount code, so that's worth the price of Serger Club right then and there, right? So, yes, you do have to sign up for Serger Club. And basically, you just go to BERNINAofNaperville.com and you search Serger Club and it pops up. Now, there are two. 2024 is our archived classes, but our current ones are 2025. And this month it's double rolled hems. So you would just select it from the drop-down menu. And then when you sign up, you're going to automatically get a link that takes you to the presentation deck from which I'm working. So $15, lots of information, plus that 25% off your feet. You should be good to go, right? So we're going to work predominantly with two stitches this month, the double rolled hem stitch, and it's made from two rolled hem stitches that are set up slightly differently. So for pass one, it's Serger through all the needles, and then for pass two, we changed out the upper looper or the blue path with soft lock thread. Now, a double rolled hem can be used for all different kinds of things, edging on home deck, apparel, and crafts. And also when shirt tail hems are kind of boring or are going to take you a really long time. It can also be a substitute for piping. And you can see in my little example down there, that is a little piping piece that I'm going to show you how to make. For best results, we need to put this on fabric that can hold up to two passes of a rolled hem. So a really unravelly chiffon may not be ideal, but a hardy concert tee knit is fine. And I wouldn't want to do this particular technique on netting like a bridal veil or something like that. So let's get to it. We're going to start off by just practicing on some fabric. And when we practice, I always like to have a little bit of extra fabric from what I'm trying to hem or whatever, just so I can see how that particular fabric will behave with a rolled hem, a double rolled hem, the thread that I'm using, and that kind of thing. So I made this poppy dress from Grainline Studios. I did it really scrappy. And then I decided when I'm hemming the bottom of my dress, I actually want to use a rolled hem and I want a chunky one. And mostly it's because there's a lot of fabric down there with all those gathers, and the serger rolled hem can do this much faster than I could with a rolled hem or foot on my sewing machine. With that in mind, I like to make a rolled hem with soft lock thread. It's a little bit fuzzier than the Serger, which is your regular serging thread. And with our double rolled hem, I'm going to do a rolled hem first with the Serger, and then I'm going to insert the soft lock in and do the rolled hem again. And just as a reminder, Serger, we carry it on these cones, and you know it's Serger because it's the pink spool. And the pink spool means it's Mettler's 50 weight polyester thread that's designed for optimal use on a serger. But you can use it for sewing and quilting and other things as well. I'm going to show you how to do a napkin as well. And for that, sometimes folks like a little bit of fray check. So if you are somebody that's a little worried about unraveling, you might want to grab a little bottle of fray check. Also, for rolled hems, especially if you're doing them around apparel, you may consider a curved foot. And this curved foot is C23 for the Bernina L890, which I'm going to be using today. But if you have a Bernina L850 or 860, you're going to be using the L23. I'm also going to show you how that you could use this technique to create piping with this thicker rolled hem. And with that, we're going to also enhance it with either our C16L or L16L. And it's just notched on the bottom to go over cording. All right, let's get started with just a little practice piece to see how our machine needs to be set up. We're going to start by changing off our foot. So I'm going to replace my C11 with my C23 foot. And there's a little piece in the back that we're just going to press. It drops down the foot, and then I can slip it off and put my new foot on. And I just gently lift the presser foot lifter to do this, and then lower it back down on that little clamp, and then lift. And now it's on there. Now, getting started, I am using stitch number 8, which is the 3-thread rolled hem. The stitch length is at 1.2 and the differential feed is at 1. Additionally, I have my cutting width set a little bit wider. That's the only difference. I have it on 6, but the blade is up, and I'm going to engage my rolled hem lever right here. Now, this is just a little test, so I'm going to go ahead and feed this through. And there's my rolled hem. All right, let's see how this turned out. Little tiny rolled hem there. And the little tiny rolled hem on the back. Now, honestly, this would look quite lovely for my dress. I would be happy with that, but I want to actually see more thread on the edge of this. So I'm going to take that soft lock thread and I'm going to replace the Serger thread in my blue upper looper path with this. Now also for this application, I'm going to lower my blade and I'm going to decrease my motor speed. So now we're taking this rolled hem piece, we're going to use this tail, this chain at the beginning here to kind of get a better grip. And we're going to line this up right between 2 dots on our foot. There's this dot here that represents where the blade is. This is like a little ridge in the foot. And then there's a ridge where the needle is going to be penetrating the fabric. And this is one of those things, if you had a little Sharpie marker or something like that, and you needed to really see, you could make little dots there. You can see between those little green dots is where I want to start off with this. And then you just want to get your sea legs to make sure that you're feeding it through properly. And then I think sometimes with soft lock, I have to loosen my upper looper a little bit. So I'm adjusting that tension to be looser on my blue path. And now we can look at that chunky rolled hem. Now that's where I started off. So just so you can see, at first I wasn't grabbing enough of it, and then I adjusted my tension somewhere, and then once I adjusted the tension, yeah, here, right there, you can still see a little bit of the lower looper. So I loosened my blue path, and then here is where it started looking like a chunky rolled hem after I did that. And it looks like I could probably lower it even more. Okay, so now let's save this stitch. When I go to pick a new stitch, it's going to ask me, do I want to save these settings? And I say yes, and I'm touching the stitch because it's blank. So I want to name it. So I'm going to name this Pass to Rolled Hem, and it's going to save that adjustment that I made to the tension. And then as I go through some other settings, it's going to allow me to remember how I set the machine up. So for instance, I had the blade lowered for this, right? So all I have to do is just simply click the blade and say, no, no, I had the blade lowered for this. Go back to my folder, and now it's going to remember these settings. So now when I go and hit my little heart button, I can pick Pass Roll 2, scroll through all of the recommendations there, and it leaves those changes in place. Let's take a minute to talk about troubleshooting on your Bernina L890. So, you saw me in the video just talk about, oh, you just need to loosen your upper looper, or you need to do this, blah, blah, blah. But on the L890 and the LX60, there is this little troubleshooting icon. It's the thumbs up and the stitch. When we select this, we can kind of go through and it will tell us what to do. So in my situation where I was using all Sericore thread through all of my pads, and I did this rayon bottom of my dress on the first pass, well, my upper looper thread was too loose along the edge. So I could have simply selected this button, and then it would tell me what to do. Increase the upper looper thread tension, increase the cutting width, increase stitch length. So there's lots of things that we could do. So this is kind of like having a little helper to guide you through that. Now, in the other situation, when I put the soft lock thread in the upper looper, my lower looper thread was not straight along the needle thread. Like I could see more of that red path there like that. Well, in this situation, they had recommended that I could tighten the lower looper thread or increase the right needle tension. And those things would have probably helped in that situation as well. But what I am really doing by showing you this is showing you that you have your own little helper built in right into your machine right here. Let's take a moment to talk about differential feed. Now, differential feed is pretty special because it can prevent things from curling, waving, and gathering, or it can make it curl or wave or gather if you wish. And differential feed is special to a serger because on a serger, there are two sets of feed dogs. There's a set in the front and a set in the back. And there's an adjustment on the machine that allows you to set this difference. So when I select that, and you'll see over here on the left, that's your stitch length adjustment. But this differential feed is over here on the right, and it goes to over 2 and it goes to about 0.70 on the machine. Anything above 1 is going to gather. Anything below 1 is going to stretch it out. So when we're looking to make like a lettuce edge on this knit, we want to stretch it out. So essentially, we're going to be going to any adjustment below 1. And this works because the feed dogs, which there are 2 sets, when the back set of feed dogs go at a faster rate than the front, it's going to stretch out. When the front set of feed dogs moves slower than the back set, then the stitch is gathered up. And we will cover and have covered gathering in other YouTube videos. What's really cool is a double rolled hem does really well if you are trying to do lettuce hem edges because essentially you're putting a lot of thread into a small space and it makes it curl up more. So I've already gone and done one pass and I did not adjust the differential feed on this piece because I didn't want it to pull so much, right? So this is just one pass where everything is adjusted nicely. So now I'm going to add that soft lock thread again, and I'm just pulling that blue path out of there, right? Lower the blade this time. And then this time I'm going back to that stitch I already had picked, the double roll past 2. And the only change I'm making is to make sure that that differential feed is at 0.7. And now you can see it waved up a little bit, and just by stretching it a little bit, it'll make it even more extreme. So that's how you can get a really cute little lettucey edge look. So there's my scrappy dress and my layers. So you can see the bottom tier here is the rayon that I was practicing on. So once you kind of see how your rolled hem is going to behave on the different fabric, we're going to send our real thing through here. And you can see that this has seams, so sometimes that can be a little stubborn, but I think it's going to be okay on this. I'm not too worried. So I'm just going to start at like right before an intersection, and then little uneven bits like this, I'm just going to let that blade cut because remember, we have Ceracore in all of our loopers on this application. So I'm going to just do my first pass just like I did our sample piece. Now, when I did my test, I found that I needed to adjust my upper looper for this fabric and this thread at 5 rather than 4, which was the default recommended setting. And that, that just happens sometimes. So that's why it's important to know what your different tension discs are doing on your machine. And I just needed the machine to loosen up on the upper looper so that it relaxed and it sent more thread around the rolled hem. So I'm just going to start here, and I am going to be cutting just a little sliver off until I get to pieces like this where I'm going to be doing a little bit more. I have a look and make sure everything is to my liking, and it is. So now we can just go all the way around the skirt. Now, a rolled hem is rather permanent, right? You can't really let it out once you've trimmed. And I decided that when I tried this dress on with the raw edge, it looked like the right length. So, you know, you're taking off about a quarter of an inch, maybe slightly less than that when you're doing a rolled hem. It's squeezing the fabric together. It's probably giving you a little bit more like 3/16 of an inch when we do that double roll part. So just keep that in mind when you're adjusting your hem, when you're making something for yourself or you're altering something you purchased. And you also want to make sure that you keep all of the rest of your dress free and clear from under that blade in the foot. Okay, now that we're getting back to where we started, we're just going to trim that little tail and we're going to over sew just a little bit and then we're going to sew off and I'm going to cut and then I'm going to switch back to my soft lock thread in the upper looper. Lowering the blade again. Now, this is going to take some concentration and some time. Be noticing that I'm bumping this right up to that right green mark on my foot. Okay, we're back to where we started. I'm going to trim my extra tails. And I'm just going to over sew a little bit. And then I'm just going to cut. Ta-da! Let you see the skirt here. So now you can see that lovely rolled hem. It looks great, no puckers. It's nice and thick, so you can really see that I did a rolled hem on it. And I think it's going to give it a little bit more weight when I wear it. So that's all done. Now, when you want to be really, really fancy, you might want to make some piping. And now, typically, I think of piping as a cord with fabric wrapped around it, right? Where you would take like your little skinny strips or whatever. But I'm going to take this is white muslin, 2.5-inch strip here, and you would make these strips as long as you needed your piping. Just for the purpose of this demonstration, I cut them on the straight of grain, but for the best application, you would cut these on the bias. Once you cut your long strip the length that you needed for the piping, then you would fold it in half like so. Okay, but now this is the bit that we're going to do the rolled hemming on. So in this case, I want a really chunky rolled hem. So I'm going to start off with my soft lock thread. And so I'm going to do a pass of soft lock twice. Okay, so this is our double rolled hem pass 2 still, but I'm going to put the knife up. And now I'm just going to trim a little bit off of this. Now to go around again, I'm going to shorten my stitch length to 0.08, lower my blade, and do the exact same application that I've been showing you earlier. And you may need to loosen your upper tension even more, but that looks like just like little piping. So now that we have our little piping done, we can tuck it in the edge if you were going to do, different sort of piping, like to decorate something or add embellishment or finishing touch. And you may consider trimming this to the seam allowance. So let's say we were doing like a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You would trim this to 1/2 inch. If you're doing 5/8, you'd trim it to 5/8. You get the drift, right? So now I want to put on this foot. This is the C16L, and that little groove runs right down this piping. So that's going to allow me to attach our piping, and I put ugly side up, which is right here, like that. And then we're going to stitch this on with a 4-thread overlock stitch with Sarah core thread in all of the thread paths. So I'm putting my, like I say, ugly side of my piping up here, and I'm going to line it up just so, lifting my presser foot and getting this under and in place. And I am going to raise that cutter back up. Let's stitch. Here's our piping. And now if we wanted to put this together with another piece of fabric, I could do so and make another pass and just put my needles closer to my original stitching here. I get that really close there. And that looks pretty cute. Now I haven't pressed this or anything yet, but you can see that little piping hidden right in that seam. And then it looks very neat and tidy on the back side as well. I want to take a moment to show you how you would turn a corner on a rolled hem. It's not very difficult, and this is definitely something that would be wonderful for napkins and things like that. So all we're going to do is start with our rolled hem set up. I have soft lock in the upper looper, and I have my blade engaged. And I'll just start on the short side. And this is my soft lock stitch that I saved, double roll past 2. And now when I get to the corner, I'm stitching off and trimming my thread. Just trimming all these little extra bits here. Then when I start again, I'm kind of using this little tail here as a handle, and I'm running this through again. And I like to lift my foot here like this just to get it started. And then I just trim my little threads at my corner like this. And I use the fray check just to put a little dollop of seam secure there. Now, another option would be to not only do some fray check at the edge here, but also take a darning needle like this and tuck it under here like so. Doesn't need to go too far. Add your fray check to the corner.
All right, what do you think? Are you going to give this a try? Is there something that you think that this will just be perfect on? I mean, honestly, one of the things that this is tried and true on are like the knit sleeves on a little t-shirt for a little girl. You can do that little lettucey edge to it. And my friend Nancy Bednar even did this technique on little anklet socks and did the double rolled hem around the top of the socks to just give it that little extra touch. So, well, we hope that you'll join us for our Serger Club, and I hope that you'll join us next month when we are doing stacked stitches. Now, that is using the cover stitch part of your machine or a separate cover stitch. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, don't forget to check out our Bernina of Naperville YouTube channel. It's easy. It's youtube.com/Bernina of Naperville, and there you can like, comment, and subscribe. Happy surging.